Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Crash, and today we're taking a look at the 5, well, technically 6 worst manga I've ever read. I've read about 500 different manga over the course of more than 10 years, and I have to say, I think I know how to pick manga because most of them have actually been positive experiences. But of course, when you experience a lot of a medium, you're bound to find some trash here and there, and I've read my fair share of bad manga. But the ones I'm going to be talking about today are really bottom of the barrel. Now, I do gotta say, first and foremost, if you're here to see me trash talk some big and famous manga, you're gonna be disappointed. Yes, I've read some mainstream manga that I disliked and I've rated negatively, but if a manga does reach mainstream, they do have some quality to it that the ones on this list cannot afford to have. And finally, this is all my opinion. If you happen to be a fan of any of these manga, comment down below because I find it hard to believe that there are fans of these. But if you are, I'm not trying to trash your taste. You do you. And I want to start with an honorable mention because it was very hard to pick which of the 2 manga I'd put in 5th place. And now you're wondering, well then Crash, why didn't you do a 6 worst manga? Look, I want to do a series of videos where I talk about 5 manga of a topic and I'm not breaking the pattern 3 videos in, okay? We're doing 5 plus 1 and you're gonna accept it. The honorable mention then is a manga called Yarisugi Companion to Watashi Monogatari, which translates to something companion something story. I don't know, I don't speak Japanese. The manga is written by Akira Hiramoto, who is the man behind the marvelously written and drawn Me and the Devil Blues, and also Prison School. Now, I never read Prison School, but from what I've heard, Yarisugi Companion is more Prison School than it is Devil Blues. It's essentially a more ecchi and far worse version of a manga that is called Anti-Kamen. Anti-Kamen is a decently famous and decently decent Shonen Jump manga from the early 90s. It's about a guy who, whenever wears women's panties in his head, turns into a super perverted superhero. In Yarisugi, it's about Yarisu, a girl hired to be a companion in an offspring full of perverted men who, when dropped into offspring, turns into essentially a female version of Anti-Kamen. To be more ecchi than a manga with hentai in its name is already a bad sign, but oh god, does Yarisugi Companion go too far. This is how I think people think all ecchi is annoying and bad think all ecchi manga are. This is bottom of the barrel, incredibly annoying and awkward and unfunny ecchi. It seems like the author is trying his best to make you uncomfortable while reading, which is the thing that works in horror manga, not ecchi comedies. The reason why this manga just slightly drops out of the bottom 5 is that it gets so ridiculous and dumb that the final 3 or 4 chapters are actually funny and enjoyable in a very trashy way. And you know, I'm fine with that. But this is a very thin line between trashy fun and cringy trash, and this manga spends most of its run in the bad side. But to actually start the list, in number 5, we have Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm kidding. Do not dislike. It's a joke. Let's all calm down. Breathe in. Breathe out, breathe in. It's Lost Plus Brain. Lost Plus Brain was one of the first manga that I actually disliked, and for the longest time it was my least favorite manga. Thankfully, in the last 2 years I found 4 that are actually worse, and there are 2 main gripes I have with Lost Plus Brain. The first one is that while it does not have any objectively bad moments, as others in this list kinda do, it's just mind-numbingly boring. It's one of the most boring and tiring experiences I've had in manga. The characters are dull, the plot is dull, the art is dull, and the second and worst gripe is that all of that is just a clone of another, more famous manga. See if you can get Switch if you haven't by the cover and art alone. This is a story of a super smart student who learns about the power of hypnotism. He decides to use this power to control and change the world to the better, even if that means using questionable and morally grey means. He ends up becoming a mysterious criminal, only known as the Third Party, which causes another super smart guy working with the police to try and hunt him down. Ironically, our main characters end up joining forces while trying to trick each other into revealing information through mind games. Yes, it is beat by beat Death Note. Just a very bland, very horrible Death Note clone. The thing is, Death Note, with its plot and characters, it could have very easily become a ridiculous and stupid story and about an incredibly annoying character. The duo behind Death Note, however, knows exactly how to write the story so that it doesn't cross this line. Death Note isn't perfect, but it is good. But the manga that tried to cash in on its success don't really understand why it worked, and it shows in this piece of soulless ripoff. I think all the other manga I'll be talking about have the factor of curiosity to them, that may make you want to check them out, even if they are bad. It's kinda like watching a car crash. Lost Plus Brain is like watching paint dry on a rainy day. Just don't bother. At number 4 we have a yaoi manga. Now to be fair, this and 2 of the next 3 manga I've read because people told me they were bad, and I assumed it was a challenge. they were right. Venus ni Kushizuki was presented to me as a very trashy manga, and the line that was shown that made me curious was this one. It shouldn't hurt, not more than having your arms cut off. Now, if I'm going to be fair, I never actually had my arms cut off, so I don't really know how much it hurts, and also I never had anal sex, which yes, that's what it's referring to. So I don't really know if they hurt and how they compare with each other in that aspect. If you have experience in both, please let me know how they compare in the comments below, and I'm also very, very sorry. But just based on common sense, having your arms cut off should hurt a lot, and you should actively avoid anything that compares to that pain. But okay, what the hell is this story about? Well, I probably shouldn't get into super details. I do have a review on it, linked in the description below, but I think just the premise should be enough to have most of you throw this one into the bottom of your list without having read it. It's about two Yakuza members who love each other very, very much, of course, and one of them was, I'm gonna say this. Well, I'm not monetized, so fuck it. He was raped by a dog. Oh? Why? It's not explained. So he kills the dog, which is what I think everyone might do in that situation. No one is in that situation though, I hope, I really do. But the dog just happens to be the boss's dog, so he orders the other Yakuza to cut his arms off. So of course they do love each other, so they run away from the Yakuza, and the rest of the manga is a road trip adventure with lots of gay sex. I'm kidding, of course. They have sex, he cuts the other guy's arms off, and now he promises to now take care of him by having lots of harmless sex. Not harmless sex, harmless sex. Look, the subtitles will help you with that one. I have subtitles. But most of the rest of the manga is just a weird fetish that I'm not sure many people have. Now, I'm sure someone out there does have it, because people are weird, that's the beauty of life. But aside of those people, this is not good. Was I expecting it to be good? No. Can't complain about being bad, I was told it was bad. I was expecting it to be bad, but I jumped into it anyways. This manga certainly isn't the disappointment of the year, and in fact, this is how I think most bottom of the barrel yaoi trash manga are gonna be like. I'm just not gonna check more to confirm. So, what is worse than really bad yaoi? Infinite Stratos. The most popular manga in this list, at least according to analysts. There have been many adaptations of this light novel into both anime and manga, but I'm talking about the very first adaptation, the 2010 manga. Is the source material good? Are any of the adaptations good? I could not tell you, because my first foray into the franchise was this one, and he made sure that there wouldn't be any other forays. So what makes this one worse than the previous? Well, the fact that it is more boring. I should also specify that I don't really care about mecha. Now, there are good mecha out there, but I'll be bored to death with an average mecha. Now imagine how I feel with a bad one. The story of this one sees a world where only girls can use mecha with the exception of this one guy. So he then joins a school where he's the only male student. So yes, this also doubles as an RM manga, which spoilers I do like. I hope that's not a secret to anyone by now. But the thing is, okay, so you know how every RM manga has its tsundere? Well, this one has that, and nothing else. Every girl in this series is the tsundere cliche. Why? I get having one, hell, I even get having two. Two is okay. Some people may tell you that is not, but those people probably have not read Infinite Stratos, otherwise they'd say, yeah, 2 is fine, at least not as bad as Infinite fucking Stratos. Okay, positive thoughts. Think of not Infinite Stratos. Okay, I'm feeling better. Let's talk about Yarcel. Now there is a good thing I have to say about Yarcel, which it's not puke on paper. We're gonna see puke on paper in a little while. This is not it. But why does every person in this universe have lazy eyes? Look, I get it, it starts to draw straight eyes. I've tried, and the result is very similar to this manga. But that's one of the reasons why I'm not a comic book artist, or an artist at all. I suck at symmetry. Geometry? No, symmetry? Symmetry. I remember talking to someone while reading this manga and telling them that there was only one character that didn't have a lazy eye, and it was the eye patch girl. But guess what? I was wrong, because she removes her eye patch, showed Sharingan or whatever, and there it was. At least she can feel included now. Now, for the last two, I need you to know that these were the only two I ever gave the score of 1 out of 10. The previous ones, I consider them to be bad, among the worst I've read. I mean, that's what the list is about. But these two are just on another level. The first one of these two is Jacarandá, and this is the epitome of boring. For you to understand how bad I think this is, I think you, someone that I don't know who's watching, any person that may find this video, I think you can write a better story. I don't know your talents, but you can do it. You know why? Because I think anyone can, including the mangaka behind Jacarandá. I want to check more of her manga out just because she can only go up from here. Now, this manga starts with a young woman killing an old dude on the train because he accidentally touched his face on her shoulder and nobody else is doing anything to stop her. You're probably thinking, Crash, that doesn't sound like the most boring manga ever. But if I tell you that there's no payoff, the manga never mentions this accident again or these characters, and the manga is about a completely different topic. Yeah. This is a story about a giant tree whose roots start breaking gas pipes and causes numerous explosions in Tokyo. And you know, maybe that still doesn't feel like the most boring story to you. The premise isn't necessarily bad. Disaster movies and manga stuff have been popular, and there's even some that I like. I like 51 Ways to Save Her by Sumaru Furuya, which is a great mangaka and you should check him out. The problem here is very much the execution. The author had this idea, which was not to have main characters in manga. And by this I mean that there's no characters that appears for more than a page or two. We are just watching various people screaming while explosions happen for 300 pages or so. Just like woman on a window screaming, "Oh no, my baby!" And then the next scene is an old man going, "Oh, I'm an old person in a bad situation." And maybe I'm going to sound super insensitive, but I don't care. You give me no reasons to care. Actually, you're giving me reasons to not care. You, the writer, clearly don't care about these throwaway nameless characters. Why should I, the reader? The shock value, which I guess is what they were going for, doesn't work. And it doesn't work not only because of a lack of attachment to this situation, because the writer wants to not give us that. The art style also helps this because it's also really bad. Just look at it. I don't think I need to explain it too deeply, do I? And you know, if it was gory or very shocking, maybe there was some reason to read this, but it isn't. It's just, don't read Jacarandá. You can read all the others. I especially want other people to read the last one on the list, but this one is a waste of time. The War Maid was a waste of time, I didn't listen, and now I pay the price. The last one is the one that I've been most excited to talk about because it's just horribly bad in the best ways. It's called Dead Word Puzzle, and for context, I follow 13 other people that have read this manga on Analyst, and the total average of all our scores is 0.9 out of 10, lower than a 1 out of 10. This is the manga that I generally recommend people checking out just out of morbid curiosity. It's a good place to go if you want to see real bad manga, because it fails on every regard, as we're going to see in a little bit, but it's so bad that it can be entertaining and funny, plus it's short enough that it doesn't overstay its welcome or waste too much of your time. And there's actually a very good written review about this manga. That was how I actually found it, by analyst user and reviewer TGG, who was also the person who introduced me to Jacarandá, and I'm going to put both reviews of his in the description. It's just really funny and he does great reviews. So Dead Word Puzzle is a death game, and I love death games, and they're bad, they are. I could have done a 5 bad death games list, and it's still have to remove a lot from this list, but they are consistently the most fun bad manga, to the point that even when they are the actual worst made thing I've seen in all my life, it's still funny. So if you're familiar with that game manga or movies or anything, you're probably already familiar with the main premise. A bunch of students get locked inside a classroom with a weird mascot thing that offers them a game that will lead to a lot of their deaths, kinda like Danganronpa. I'm actually gonna shoot myself for comparing those two. I'm actually not gonna shoot myself, don't shoot yourself, okay? So, our main character is Badly Done Light Wannabe number 2 of this list. This time with a tiny little hand. Look at that tiny little hand. That's bad art, by the way, it's not on purpose. The game of this particular manga is crosswords. List the first. If a person solves a crossword puzzle in full, the other person who has the same crossword will die, which kinda serves as a way to lynch off your cast, which makes sense since 34 characters is a bit too much for a 4-chapter manga. Except there's a lot of them that die just trying to run away. And while seeing the corpses of his classmates, our main character just goes full-on psychopath, which I guess the other thinks it makes Light Wannabe cool, but no, it just looks like a psychopath. Also, people die by having random parts just explode, or fly off, or just poop out of your intestines, or your face melts. There's no rhyme or reason, no actual logic, it just happens. So yeah, that's chapter 1. And honestly, I think you guys should check out the rest for yourself. If you want to read a manga with horrible and inconsistent art style, with a lack of basic logic in their deaths, with nothing but cliché trope after cliché trope of the genre but butchered beyond comprehension, with a cast of psychotic and unlikable characters and dialogues that makes you wonder if the mangaka knows what a conversation is or if he just looked it up online, Dead Word Puzzle is for you. But what are your least favorite manga? The manga you hate the most, or is just the most badly executed you've read? Let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll check it out when I'm feeling especially masochistic. If you want to watch the rest of these series and have actual good recommendations, click on the playlist on the left. And if you watched it till here, thank you very much and I'll see you next video.